Hi everyone! So I wanted to, first of all, share with you guys a really tasty smoothie I've been really loving lately. I've actually been making like a Snickerdoodle energy bars, Snickerdoodle energy bars, homemade. And then I kind of turned it into a smoothie, but I kind of left out the cinnamon this time, but it is so delicious. It's the standard banana and date smoothie, you know. I use 2 frozen bananas, 10 medjool dates, 2 cups of Zico coconut water, some vanilla bean powder, and a small little handful of cashews, I actually measured it, so it was around 12 to 15 grams of cashews because I didn't want it heavy with fat. I didn't want it thick and super creamy, but if you want it really creamy, just add more cashews, of course. You know, all you raw foodies know that. And so if you want it, yeah, more creamier, you can add more bananas to it too. But this is nice and sweet, lightly creamy, so tasty. And definitely, if you add some cinnamon to it, it'll automatically snickerdoodle, you know. Mmm. Mmm. Tasty. Hits the spot. Very good. Num nums. Alrighty guys, so what I wanted to kind of do a whole video on is why did I choose Arizona? Because people are starting to kind of ask a little bit and kind of wonder about Arizona and stuff, and or wondering why I chose Arizona. And so number one, you guys, Arizona was not on my list. Well, no, it was on my list, but it was not the state or even climate I was kind of looking at. I first wanted wanted to move to somewhere tropical, and I still do. That's still my dream and vision, is to move somewhere tropical. And but Arizona definitely was on my list. I had 5 states on my list for a possible move and relocation to, and one of them was Florida, Hawaii, California, Arizona, and Texas. So those were my 5 states that I narrowed down for a possible move, because I was definitely set on moving somewhere where there are palm trees and fruit on trees. Those were the 2 main, well, actually, and then lots of sunshine, and of course no more Arctic conditions, no more winter conditions. So those were definitely the main points that were really, really important to me. And so that meant staying on the southern half of the United States. I've had this for several years. My moving journey started not just within the past year or anything. It has been several years, like 10 plus years. So I've had this map for quite a while, okay? So I have always had this dream and vision in my mind, because I'm from Alaska. For anyone who's new to my channel, welcome. You're always welcome. Everybody's welcome on my channel. And I'm from Alaska, and I love Alaska. Alaska will always be my home, but I know God definitely was telling me, Stace, it is time to go. It is time to go. And but I've always had this dream and vision for a long, long time throughout my life, really. So like I said, over 10 plus years. But so I've had this map for quite a while. So what I did is I drew a line on the United States, and I said nowhere above this line, because anywhere above this line gets winter conditions. It gets snow and ice. Okay, so that means I have to stay on the bottom half of the line, so it's nice and toasty warm, no snow. Okay, now I know there are some states where I was aware, and still am aware of, states that you can kind of go to a little further north, and you'll get all seasons, but winter won't be as intense or as harsh as Alaska's is. And I understood that, but I was dead set, and still am set on, no, I am not dealing with winter conditions. I don't want to see snow. Well, I don't mind seeing snow, but it can be on the mountaintops. But I don't want to be in snow. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to drive on it, especially with ice. I don't want to feel 32 degrees. I don't want to feel freezing. I don't want to feel 0 degrees. And I most definitely don't want to feel sub-zero temperatures, which are extremely common and a normal thing in Alaska. So I needed and was desiring a complete shift. And so I narrowed down to those 5 states because of the palm trees, fruit on trees, and the sunshine and warmth and everything. So I definitely wanted to go somewhere tropical, so that meant either Florida or Hawaii. So I started with Florida because Florida looks so beautiful. And in particular, it's Sarasota, Florida, where I had my eyes set on. Because Sarasota, Florida looks so gorgeous. And so when I was researching it and everything and wanting to take a visit trip down there, well, since I'm from Alaska, trying to get to Florida, that is clear across the United States. I mean, that is a long ways, and the tickets to get down there were way too expensive, and just the amount of flying time just to get there was really stopping me, because it's hard to sit on a plane for a long time. Just going from Fairbanks, Alaska to Seattle is hard enough for me, like 3-4 hours. Holy cow, that is enough to just like, oh my gosh, I gotta get up and move, I need to get out of this plane, you know. That's how it is for me. Just from Fairbanks to Seattle is tough enough. And so I wasn't ready to actually even vacation to Florida. And then so that was stopping me. And then when I was researching more about Florida, I'm like, man, Florida is pretty darn flat, you know, and I'm so used to mountains. I love the mountains. That was another thing, is I was trying to find somewhere where there's mountains, because that reminds me of Alaska, because I love seeing snow on mountains. I love seeing mountain ranges and just being around the mountains. And Florida definitely had no mountains. It was flat. So when people say it's flat as a pancake, they're not kidding. When I was looking at different videos on YouTube of people who live in Florida and just hearing from other people, it is flat. But that's all part of the shift of going to a different place or going to a different climate too. And also Florida has very high humidity, which I have never experienced before. I'm so used to dryness, because that's what Alaska is. Alaska is known as, can be classified as an Arctic desert. And so I never really experienced humidity at all. And so definitely if you're in the tropics, you're definitely going to feel humidity. And every time I hear or research about Florida, there's always this humidity problem that a lot of people talk about. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's something to experience. But then also was the main thing that steered me away from Florida is the hurricanes, because every year it seems like you're guaranteed to experience hurricanes in Florida. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with hurricanes. And another thing is I'm not a water person really. I don't really have a desire to go swim in the ocean, or much less be wet. I don't really like it when it rains or when it's cloudy and it rains. I just don't really like that. And so I'm like, well, that's what you get in the tropical climates though, is you definitely get rain and humidity, and those tropical storms and hurricanes definitely are part of a tropical climate from what I understand. And so I just said, you know what, Florida, I'll reserve that for visiting, and that'd be much later down the road. But I don't even think I'll ever really move to Florida, but you never know, you never know. And because I didn't know I was going to end up in Arizona. But okay, so I left Florida off, or kind of ruled Florida out, and so I next went to Hawaii. And then I was starting to look at Hawaii, and of course you can get good tickets to Hawaii. And I have been to Hawaii once before. I visited Maui, Hawaii with my mom, but that was a long time ago. I do remember it, but it was a long time ago. But they are an island, and there's only so many places you can go. But one thing that really stopped me from going to Hawaii was the housing. I was looking at rental homes and well, actually it wasn't really homes, they were all apartments, and it was so ridiculously, outrageously expensive for very little. And I'm like, man, I can't even afford these apartments. And if you're going to be anywhere, you kind of need to be on Oahu, where the population is a little bit is bigger, where there's more job opportunities and stuff. So I was just thinking, you know what? Maybe we better just leave Hawaii. We better leave the tropical dream for a little bit later. So I kind of just knocked Hawaii off. So that meant California, Arizona, or Texas. So I started with California, and I shared with you guys a couple of videos of some of my trips that I went on to California, because another dream of mine was to be in farm fields, you know, those picket fences, those cottage homes, and those fruit vineyards, you know, grape vineyards, those fruit farms and everything, and rolling green grassy hills. And when I typed that into Google, California was coming up. So I was looking into California, where are all these farm fields at and everything. And it led me to SLO, California, San Luis Obispo. So I visited there, and I really liked it there. And then I went on to Redlands and Palm Springs to check that out, and I shared some videos with you guys on that. And but then I came to find out that California was just way too expensive. Everything in California is expensive. And then when I was visiting down there, the pollution was horrible, because Los Angeles was close by, and that I did not like. I did not like that heavy pollution. That I just like, nope, I'm not doing this. Not clean air. And this is not very good clean air. And so, but most of all, California was just too expensive. So I'm like, okay, California's off the list. And so that meant Arizona or Texas. And by then, I was so like burnt out of researching. I researched so much trying to find little cities and towns that weren't so high populated, you know, no high rises or anything. And because I'm a small town girl, and I don't like huge city, big city life. I don't like that. I love the Alaskan life. That's where I grew up, and so I still desire that. I want space. I want open space. I don't want to see high-rise buildings. I don't want to be in concrete living. I still want to be in nature. And so, but by that time I was getting so burnt out with trying to find a spot and finding something. And so a lot of people were kind of steering me to Arizona, because it's kind of funny, because a lot of Alaskans end up in Arizona, and a lot of people, the snowbirds, the people who they live somewhere where they want to in the summertime, but then leave to a warmer climate during the wintertime, and they're called snowbirds. And a lot of Alaskans actually end up coming to Arizona. So I'm like, well, you know what? Here's another Alaskan, but I'm moving there. And actually what happened then with that was I was looking at Arizona, but the main thing that was scaring me about Arizona was the high heat. In the hundreds. I'm like, wow, because I do understand, like, it does feel good to be at a cooler temperature. I mean, I'm not someone who wants to fry myself. I don't want to fry myself, and I don't want to. I know it can be just as bad being too hot or overly hot, like it is being too cold. But I think it's actually easier being in the high heat than in extreme cold, though, in my opinion. And so, but yet again, I haven't experienced a full summer living in Arizona yet. But I have experienced the 100 degrees for at least a week. But I was at a point where, you know, finances are a bit low now. I can't keep visiting all these other places, and if I'm going to go, I need to go now, because I have to be able to afford to pay for getting down there, and all the moving expenses and everything, and getting started up again. You need to have extra money for that too. So I'm like, man, I can't really go anywhere and visit anywhere, so I really have to narrow something down. So I was really searching all over Arizona. I wasn't feeling Texas at all, really. I still have yet to visit Texas, but I just wasn't feeling Texas. So I'm like, well, I guess it's going to be Arizona, because Arizona has summer year-round. It is warm. It's got palm trees. It's got cactuses, because I love cactuses too. And it's dry. there doesn't really rain, so it's dry. A lot of open spaces. There's fruit on trees, and it was kind of hitting all the points. And it's affordable too. It's affordable. And so I was looking at all over Arizona for smaller areas, but the mountains is what I was really wanting. And of course, no big city life like high rises or anything. So that meant the Phoenix area. The Phoenix area was out of the question. And from what I understand, the Phoenix area is, from what I've heard from other people, that it's actually much hotter in Phoenix than it is in Tucson, in the Phoenix area. Because I know Phoenix comprises of like Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa. My parents have got some friends in Mesa, Arizona, and all over other parts of Arizona too. But I know Phoenix area kind of comprises of a lot of all these mini cities that kind of make up one big area. But Tucson kind of had a better fit because when I visited Tucson, it felt like small town living. It was very doable for the population that's here. It's definitely bigger than what I'm used to, but it's so doable. It doesn't feel like a big city, and it's very spread out. No high rises, lots of mountains. Anywhere you go, you have these beautiful mountain ranges. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hitting all my points spot on. And I was just feeling it. I was feeling the pull. I was feeling the strong pull to it. And I'm like, yep, Tucson's it. Tucson's it. And so when I went back home after my visit to Tucson, I was looking for a home, and all the rentals were very, very affordable. So I was on it. I was on it. And so that's how I ended up in Arizona, okay guys? So this video's gone on long enough. Hopefully I did not bore you guys. Hopefully you made it through. And I'm not sure if it helps you at all, but I just figured I'd talk about it because people are starting to ask, and it's all part of my health journey too, and bettering my health, and even for you guys, if you have a dream to go somewhere and to get out of a cold climate, I highly recommend it, because God puts those dreams and visions in you for a reason, and you need to follow those. And that's one thing that has really worked on me, and I have been trying to follow it, and the time finally came, and I'm glad I took that leap of faith. I'm glad I took that step of faith and went. And it was hard, but God got me here. And holy moly, so whew, I'm just happy I'm here. Okay guys, so I'll leave you alone with that there guys, okay? So remember to love being raw. Put a big old smile on your face today. I hope I did that for you guys, and I'll see you guys next video, okay? Bye guys.